PowerBoat Television, North America's premier boating show.
From time to time, viewers have contacted us asking if we could show what's involved in installing a bow thruster. So this week on my boat, we're working at Heinsohn Marine in Penetang, Ontario with O'Rourke Boat Works to install a bow thruster in this 41-foot Silverton. The first step in the project was to measure and mark the location for the tunnel on both sides of the bow. Rest assured that Larry O'Rourke and his crew had measured the inside of the bow area as well to ensure that the tunnel would fit through. With the center position for the tunnel marked, pilot holes were drilled on both sides of the bow. Next, the jig was inserted through the pilot holes and the outline of the elliptical opening required for the tunnel was traced onto the hull. After drilling a starting point, a jigsaw and multiple blades were used for the lengthy task of cutting the opening in each side of the bow. The last step in prepping the holes required was to grind the hull openings on an angle to accept the tunnel. After marking the area where the fiberglass would be faired, the tunnel tube was inserted and it fit perfectly. Next, the tunnel tube was marked on the outside, the center line marked, then it was taken to the shop and cut. And the surface was sanded to prep for glassing in place. While that was underway, the hull was being prepped by grinding away the paint and gel coat. Following a thorough cleaning with acetone, the tunnel tube was inserted into the hull, ready to be glassed in place. First, a batch of fiberglass putty and catalyst was mixed and applied to the hull and tube. First filling the gap in the hull, then building up the putty to fair the tube on both sides of the hull. Inside the hull, the process was repeated on both ends of the tubes. With the fiberglass putty cured, the tube was ground flush on both ends. After the area was cleaned, a coating of resin was applied and sections of fiberglass mat were applied, wetted thoroughly, and rolled out. Inside the hull, multiple layers of fiberglass mat and woven fiberglass cloth were applied, saturated with resin, and rolled out, ensuring structural integrity of the bow thruster tunnel. After a final sanding, new gel coat was applied to the hull, finishing the fiberglass work on the project. When we arrived back the following day, the gel coat had been sanded and anti-fouling paint applied, and inside the hull was coated with gray gel coat. Next, the techs with Heinsohn Marine took over to install the mechanical and electrical components. Task 1 was to locate the motor bracket on the tube and mark and drill the gear housing and mounting holes. After applying sealant and setting the gasket in place on the gear housing, it was inserted through the hole in the tunnel, paying attention to the port and starboard marks. Inside, sealant was applied to the motor bracket and tunnel, and a gasket was set in place as well. Next, the motor bracket was set in place and the mounting bolts secured. Next, the electric motor was set in place and secured to the motor bracket. Moving on to the electrical components, the proportional power controller was mounted to a bulkhead. Then the automatic main switch was installed where it could be accessed in an emergency. While the main power cables had been run from the engine compartment, several additional cables had to be prepared with terminals and shrink wrap. Then power cables were connected to the switch, controller, and onto the motor. With the power supplies connected and the data cable from the controls previously installed on the helm plugged into the controller, work in the bilge was complete. After installing the propellers and anodes, the system was powered up and tested to ensure all components were functioning. Well, there you have it. We've covered all of the major steps involved in installing a bow thruster on this 41 Silverton. Now this is a great project to take on with your marina in the wintertime, where you can negotiate a better rate for the work when they're a little bit quieter. It's just too bad we can't splash the boat, so we could try out the proportionate control for the bow thruster and a stern thruster that was installed on this boat as well.